My name is Mark with Dine Digital, and this is The Dish. And today we're glad to have the Rack House. And I didn't verify this beforehand, but I believe the correct pronunciation is Sommelier Josh French, and he's going to join us right now. Welcome to The Dish.
Mark, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Despite having some technical difficulties, which is not a surprise. I'm sure Facebook just updated how you did it yesterday. But we're so glad to have you, and we're going to jump in and learn about the Rack House. So tell us a little bit about the Rack House and what's going on with you guys.
Sure. So I'm actually sitting over at our second location, Tompkins by the Rack House. We opened about 9 months ago here, but the Rack House itself started 5.5, almost 6 years now. August will be 6 years. I started with them about 3 months after they opened. John and Bridget Hamilton are some locals who decided owning a restaurant might be a fun adventure. They're both pharmacists, so that background is not something that always would come natural for them. So it was definitely fun. It was something that I'd never been into a restaurant that early on into concept. And then all of a sudden we have another restaurant over here at Tompkins. So that's something that we were able to jump in together with. But the Rack House has grown from where we made our own wine, Missouri wine, all the way to what we are now by offering worldly wines. With that, our whiskey selection's over 250 bottles. So that is still pretty strong. The wine selection is well over 100 bottles. Some that obviously we do by the glass. And from there, we've got Chef Philip Day. He's our executive chef at both of our restaurants. So his creativity really, really shines through. And that's what I like. So we change our menu seasonally. So we're able to have some fresh ingredients from local farms. We work really well with multiple vendors, but somebody like Lucky Dog Farms or Mushrooms Naturally over in Wentzville do a great job for us, whether they're doing something specifically for us or bringing us something, or whether it's just in season. Unfortunately, with the times we're in right now, Chef has a spring menu written, but we're looking at a summer menu as well because we don't know when everything's going to be back to normal as we see it. And so with that, I get to work with him and come up with wine pairings, new cocktails. But we get 2 places to do that at. And I think each venue that we have is a little bit different in each of those aspects and showcases really what we're able to do.
Awesome. That's a good little overview of what's going on with you guys. So very cool. You already covered when you got started. So 5 or 6 years ago, right? And you guys are been strong. There's been some, shifts on what you're doing, but continue to move forward and do some exciting things. So following that up, what kind of things can your guests expect when they come to your restaurants?
So it's really, we kind of look at Rack House. It's really one of those fun things where it's a relaxed atmosphere. We get people coming off the golf course. It's a golf cart friendly community on top of it. So just people hopping around Cottleville. With that, though, you can come for a date night and really be able to experience that without putting a huge dent in the pocket. And that's what's really fun. So you can come and get that knowledge from either myself or any of our staff members, because we really take it to heart of being able to educate. Because if I can do that with a server or a bartender, they can easily do that over with a guest. And I really like that aspect of it. We've got really, really eager staff members that want to know these things, or something new comes in. If a server sees it being delivered and I don't have a chance yet to talk about it with the staff, they're asking me already. And I think that's really fun. And you don't always get that from my experience in other settings. You might just be going in, punching the clock and doing what you're told. But, I get to work with some really fun staff members who want to push the envelope, who want to get those things there. And so you can get a flight of whiskey and get the knowledge from just being able to sit down yourself and taste those things, or the wine flight and move around. and sample different things and really be able to experience unlike anything else. There's not too many places, unless you're at a particular wine bar, that you're able to taste multiple wines at once.
Right.
You usually have to get a glass or something like that. And so by being able to taste them yourself, you get that experience, but then we can build on top of that and talk about that, or talk about the maker or something like that. That would be really, really nice to just even have that little bit of knowledge, that little connection, I think, overall. And then from there, the food. People ask me what's the best thing, and I eat off the menu daily, and I don't change anything. It's well to work around. Get to try those things, and what Chef and his team gets to put out is really, really special. Everything from the burger, which is our number one selling item, our crab pretzels, to a steak or the chicken he puts out. It's not just chicken on a dish. He does some really, really creative things with that. It kind of mimics what we do in what we say the front of the house, right out in the dining room. Chef really gets to express that with his team in the back.
Awesome. That's great stuff. So you've kind of touched on it here and there, but I'll let you give you an opportunity to kind of flesh it out a little bit about what makes you guys unique.
So I think, one, the setting, right? The setting where we're out in St. Charles. We're in this little town called Cottleville. Not everybody knows about it, but it's one of those things that we rival one of 3 places in St. Louis with our whiskey selection alone. Like I said, with over 250 bottles that fluctuates up and down depending on inventory. Uniqueness is a big part of those whiskeys as well. But then on top of that, I think the fact that we've got all of our entrees already paired with wines for you. If you're looking for something else, we can happily get you into a pour of something or beer that might pair well with it. I think the fact that we've got, a team that we're all management-wise, we've got a handful of us that no one's over the age of 36, I think now. I think Chef just bumped us up, but no one's over the age of 36. And within that, we've got, I think, 5 of us now, and we've got almost 120 years of experience in the restaurant industry alone. And so I think that part is also really unique. Because we all come from different portions. We've got team members that have worked at a pop top bar, sports bars, things like that, all the way up to a fine dining. And we get to bring that all together and do that. Something just over my shoulder, actually, kind of get it in the picture there, are barrel aged cocktails. And that's a really fun thing too, that we get to experiment. So we take the whiskey that's already there and we add other ingredients, and then we put it back into a barrel. So we're not making our own whiskey by any means, but we are integrating ingredients to be able to make a more flavorful cocktail.
Very nice. So let's move on to what's the thing on the menu that your guests have to try. And of course, I have to say, besides everything, we know you want to come back over and over again. But
oh yeah, something like our crab pretzels, I think, are one of those things that always blow people away. So we work with local company Companion Breads. We actually take 2 of their foot-long pretzels. We cut a little V-notch out of the center, and Chef has something like his crab cake mixture, a couple other tweaks to it, and we pipe that in right through the center. Then we put those in the oven and bake those off, and it's just awesome. You don't need a bunch of breadcrumbs in there or anything like that. The pretzel itself already does its job. But like I said, we were pulling numbers the other day, and our burger has been our number 1 selling item for over a year now. And we sell more of those than we do things like Bud Light or Tito's, which is 2 and 3 on our list. So
right. Interesting. Very cool. All right. So when someone happens to be in the area, maybe when baseball season starts up and they want to see the Cardinals, what advice do you have for the guests from out of town? What else can they see or do when they come to visit you guys?
Sure. So when we're at the Rack House, I always recommend going over and seeing our sister restaurant, Tompkins, down on Main Street, St. Charles. Not just for us, but for what's going on down there. There's usually, I mean, any weekend you pop down here on Main Street, and there's usually something going on. But if not, and you want to make your way over to the St. Louis side, you said it. Baseball is what I love to go and experience. We've got awesome wineries if you stay out in this part of town, and then all the breweries. I'm a big beer fan as well, not just with wine and things like that. And so there's all those fun things to experience, and it's a really, really good food town. And I'd love for people, if they're in dining with us or even having a drink and asking where to go next, I love suggesting just go to another bar, one of the other restaurants, and experience what they have to offer, because there's so many different restaurants and unique restaurants as well.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Moving right along. So for some of these, like you mentioned, you were here early on with the Rack House. So somebody that's thinking about getting into the restaurant industry, what would you impart as far as your wisdom?
Read. A lot of people, even my staff, comes to me and they'll say, well, how do you know some of the random things that I do about the spirits or about food and things like that? And it truly is. I mean, if you pick up a bottle and you read the label on a bottle of whiskey, typically there's history there. There's something that they're telling you on that. Very early on, before I was even able to drink, I was put on a lot of cleaning tasks when I was the new guy at whatever restaurant or bar I was at. And I wanted to know why there were 20 bottles of bourbon on the back bar. And so just by reading, you get these subtle nuances and understanding of at least the history of those things. Then when I was able to actually start drinking, I had people, luckily, that were around me, and I was inquisitive, right? There are plenty of people. My younger brother, for example, he was in the food industry with me as well, and it wasn't his thing. He was doing that. He was clocking in, clocking out, and going on his way. But I'd be the guy leaning over saying, well, why did you cook the steak that long? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And I think the more questions you ask, the more you're able to read and understand. You'll be able to then, when you are tasting or eating, you'll be able to kind of pick up some of those subtle differences maybe a little bit better. And if you can get in with a wine tasting group or virtually, that's a huge thing obviously now. But there are plenty of those groups that have always been going on. It's just taking the time and the effort. And if you do that, then this is a job just as the accountant down the street. He studies books and looks at those things. And there are things like that for us. There are plenty of resources. There's some awesome books that are out there. I actually use, for making cocktails, some books that chef has, because they've got pairings and they've got fun ideas that I can impart into a glass. And it doesn't have to be strictly for a plate. So kind of keeping that open mind as well with it, I think, is a big part of that.
Oh, that's great. Here's a little change in pace. If you could change anything about the restaurant industry, what would that be?
It's kind of like the interview question. What are you bad at? And you never answer that with what I am bad at, but it's things I can work on. And I think having a guest that had, just like I said before with me, I'm never done learning. And if I ever say I am, then I should probably stop what I'm doing. But having a guest with an open mind, that's fine that somebody may like their steak cooked a particular way. We are okay with that. We are more than happy to accommodate. But having the open mind, when there's a wine pairing, maybe taking that suggestion because we think it's going to be good. It's not telling you how to drink. If you want to have that big, bold red with your cut of salmon, by all means, please enjoy it. That's how you like it. But maybe give us a chance too. So being open-minded, I think, is one of those things that, again, we'll cook your food how you'd like it. But if you allow us to add to your experience, I think that is something that we could really, really make a big change in.
Yeah, listen to the experts, right? Very cool. All right, so what do you love most about being in the restaurant industry?
A little bit of everything I've kind of touched on. I have a passion for it, and I really enjoy these things. I partake in them, And I always, if I go to a restaurant, I will ask the staff there and tell them up front, I'm going to be here for a while, for one. And I want to experience what you all do, right? They're there making a paycheck. They're there that, not saying they're entertaining us, but that's what we do when we're hosting guests. And that's really what I enjoy. So I tell our team, it's one of those things that you're coming to us. So we're welcoming you into our home. And it's just like if I were having a party at my house, I want my friends to have a good time. I want to be open. If I'm cooking and I'm, 5 or 10 minutes later than what I want, I'm going to make sure their glass is full at home. Let's do the same thing here. Let's welcome everybody in as that. And so I want that same thing to happen. I want you to feel when you come in like this is your home, like you're at a friend's house. And so going back to that story at a restaurant, I ask, will you do the pairings for me? I'll be happy to select the wines. But if you all want to make that pairing, because not a lot of restaurants will have the pairings already mapped out for you. And a lot of times they are just very happy with, oh yeah, please, we'd love for you to experience multiple things. And if they're not, then it's no big deal. And I don't make a big fuss about it. Hopefully nobody else does either. But it's really one of those things that because I'm in that spot, I get to help people with their selections. And if there is a restaurant that wants to help me when I'm out, I'd love for that to happen. And so that's really the big thing, is just that hospitality. It is that fun aspect of it's different every night. Sure, we're serving the same dishes, but it's to somebody new every single day. And I really enjoy that. We get to talk to everybody. And from there, I get to ask them kind of the same questions. Where did you go when you were out of town? Where did you go when you were, in such and such? And so that's what's really fun. And then I get to add that to my list and, kind of keep that in the back pocket too. So it's the guest experience, I think, honestly, that I really, really get to enjoy.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So you have some new unique things going on because of what's happening currently in our nation and across the world. People are adjusting to that. And so tell us about your virtual tasting, some of the other things you're doing.
Yeah. So I just worked with Zoom for the first time last night. We did Whiskey Wednesday. So we'll do the same thing next week as well, and probably for every week going forward. We had ended up with about 18 people last night. And it was just sit at home. And if everybody wanted to listen to me talk, I'm pretty good at that. So I did that for a little bit. And then we just kind of did the go around the room and tell us what you're drinking. There were some questions about cocktail making, what certain ingredients are, what are bitters? What are different ingredients that are in a particular cocktail? And so we really kind of bounced around to a lot of different things. And we plan to do the same thing next week. From there, we've got a wine tasting coming up. That's going to be with Master Sommelier Fred Dane. So we're super excited about that with Doe Vineyards out of Paso Robles in California. And he is going to guide us through 5 wines, which you can pick up at the Rack House, ordering ahead for $100. $100 for 5 of these wines is a great deal. Right. It's in line with a lot of stuff we're already doing sale-wise in the restaurant. And he's going to guide us through all of these. So if you want to open one of the bottles, or if you want to open all 5 bottles and taste literally with Fred, you'll be able to. And that I think is hands down one of, I'm excited. Chef's excited. We're going to have the staff attend as much as they can. If nothing else, be able to pop in and listen to somebody that's not just me giving them wine information.
Yes, very cool. Well, this is the dish, and typically we will show off your dish, but we do have a sommelier, so we got a little twist on it today, and Joshua is going to show us what he's got on hand right now.
Sure. So right now, I know it's a little early, but we're after the afternoon, so I've got one of our barrel-aged cocktails here. What we do, we use 4 roses for our cocktail in those little barrels that are right over my shoulder there, those 2. And what we're doing with that is we age the spirit along with sweet vermouth for at least 30 days. That's our guarantee for our bourbon or our rye whiskeys. And what we're doing with that is we're just allowing the ingredients to incorporate. If you think about making a red sauce, a marinara sauce, right, in the kitchen, since this is the dish, we'll go back to that. What chef's going to do is he's going to let those ingredients simmer and meld together with heat. So we're kind of doing that with the barrels. So what we're doing is we're bringing those ingredients together, much like they do in aging the spirit and why you age whiskey or bourbon. And what you're doing is you're allowing that liquor or liquid to go into the barrels and then back into the center. So you're allowing it to go into the wood, be influenced by that charred wood, and then come back into the barrel. And it is breathing at that point, going into the wood pores, coming back into the barrel center itself. And we're able to allow those things to integrate. From there, just those two ingredients, we add one more as we tap it when we pour your cocktail. Besides ice, we add bitters. And then I've got these fun little Amarena cherries, so nice Italian cherries that are soaking in their own syrup themselves. And it's a game changer. When I came on, like I said, about 5.5 years ago, I bought some barrels just to be able to do this stuff at home because it makes things taste so much different. And we've even got a local company that we work with, and they barrel age vodka. And so this isn't just stuck to the realm of bourbon or whiskey only. I've got other local regulars that have come in and bought the barrels, and they age spirits at home. I've got a guy who loves to do rum. So he's got extra age onto his rum and things like that. So it's just really fun. The barrels get reused a couple times. Our bourbon one ends up over at a local coffee shop. They put coffee, cold brew Kyoto coffee through it. They cold age it so they can serve their coffee, still viable. And then we get the barrel back. We make a chocolate Manhattan using a chocolate whiskey. But then we share that back out once we're done to a local brewery as well. So everybody gets their hands on it and is able to do some really kind of fun things with it overall. And again, that is our number one selling spirit, if you will, is our barrel-aged Manhattans.
Very nice. Good stuff. Well, thanks for sharing your dish.
Yes.
So I want to bring your attention to everybody that's watching this either live or later on when we edit this and get it out to the social media platforms and whatnot. Please follow. We got the Rack House's IG down here at the bottom, Rack House KWW, and then also us, dine.digital. So just as if you're not familiar, Dine Digital, typically we're helping fine dining restaurants with marketing. And this time we felt like the best way to help is just to get on and try to promote as much as we can the industry, since we're having a little bit of a challenging time right now. But we're all going to get through this, and things are going to be even better. I can believe that for sure. Josh, is there any final thoughts you had, and before we wrap it up?
No, Mark, I appreciate it. Anybody that's watching, please go out and support those that you normally would go to, whether they're doing gift cards, doing food to go curbside, or somebody like us who has our license to sell you some wine to go if you need it while you're at home. Come see us, and we can make that happen. Or if it's not us, please locally support as best you can, and we'll see you all on the other side when this gets over with.
Exactly. So I echo that. Support your local businesses, restaurants, all that. And together, as many people are saying, we can get through it. And if you're watching, please like, follow, and share, subscribe, all those things to not only us, but please do so for Rack House and Tompkins as well. Thanks for joining in, and we'll catch you on the next dish.
Thank you.